Hoyoverse is failing, and it's failing hard. From getting greedier and greedier with every single patch they put out across their games, to absolutely awful ideas such as characters that power up your account when they're not even in the active team.
Nice job, team.
To pushing out characters that people often have to double check what games they're from since they can't even tell anymore. It's safe to say that the once well-oiled machine that pushed out great content has been slowly decaying and getting worse, so the question is, can Hoyoverse be saved? Can they reverse course? Let's talk about it. So Hoyoverse is failing, they're losing the goodwill of people left, right and center, and this might not be as easy as it seems to reverse, or even stop at this point. But I think the fix couldn't be more obvious. You see, as with every problem in life, you can't really fix it unless you truly understand it, and I feel like Hoyoverse is having a mighty hard time understanding why people are looking other ways for their entertainment. And I think that's because there is a combination of multiple things that have been pushing people away from Hoyo games. Things that were not really the case before. Now before we begin, almost 0% of you guys watching are subscribed, so I'd really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. You'll get a free cookie in exchange and an entry into the 5 Welcome Pass giveaway I'm running for the people in our community. If you want to take part in the giveaway, drop a purple heart in the comments below and make sure to also join our Discord server where the winners will be announced. Link in the description below. I also need to feed my cat, so make sure to check out the sponsor of this video, Lootbar.gg, a website that offers top-ups for both Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail at much better price, and the sponsor of this video. With Lootbar you can get prices up to 23% cheaper and an 8% off coupon code for new users to get started in the best way possible. Take this package for example, why would you not want to get more value out of your money? And I know this is all great, but what's even better is the fact that Lootbar is completely safe, boasting both great reviews and having cooperated with multiple well-known creators such as Raiden Shotgun, NoCap, Dukaja and many more. So here's how easy and fast it is to top up, only requiring your user ID and server region. After all, Lootbar has the exact same routing as the in-game store, so if for example you want to top up 6400 crystals, you'll get the top up bonus you're familiar with, which is twice the crystals, only at a much better price and with the delivery being done within half an hour. But it gets even better, since with Lootbar you can purchase 4 6400 Genesis crystal packs for only $295 with only one convenient payment operation, saving you nearly $100 in the process. So don't walk, run to the website and get yourself the best deals possible and exclusive discounts by using the links in the description and pinned comment. Now I could start with the obvious. Hoyo has been getting greedier, but I'm not gonna go too in depth with this. I mean, it isn't really even that deep. They've been getting more and more aggressive with the way they release characters. See Movika and Sidlali being on the same banner, for example. And it's absolutely ass cheeks to deal with as a free-to-play player. Hoyo has also been power creeping the goddamn life out of their games, and at a much faster rate, leading again to an awful experience for free-to-play players. And I'm going to touch onto this subject a bit more because I used to have the most brain-rotted take and stance on this, something that's changed in the last few weeks. You see, I used to believe that power creep is not even a bad thing and that it's actually necessary and maybe even good since it makes you play more to always get the latest characters. And not only that, but I also flat out blame free-to-play players who did not, quote-unquote, plan their wishes accordingly. It truly is one of my dumbest take, which if you've known me for any period of time, you know that that's quite impressive to achieve. So for that shitty take I want to apologize. Moving from my stupid take, however, the power creep situation in Hoyo games and Genshin, for example, in particular, has truly been getting worse and worse. The idea that Hoyo devs are now designing the abyss around mechanics that are fully locked behind the latest characters is absolutely wild. And combining that with the fact that new characters shoot little fat mans out their ass every single time they do a charge attack doesn't really help either. Quality of life that people have been asking for years is also being implemented at a snail's pace. And all of these are well known, but here comes what I think are the two big issues. Looking at the characters Genshin has been releasing, it's quite easy to see how the art style and design choices have been changing and how Genshin has slowly been losing its identity. This might not seem big, but in my opinion it's nothing short of, well, huge. Genshin has been a cornerstone in the gacha space for years. I personally played the game for a long time, and most of it has been on and off, and whenever I came back to it, I always felt at home. No matter what characters got released during my time off the game, Genshin always had this familiar feel about it. But it unfortunately all changed with the release of Natlan. And not only has this cherished feeling of consistency been crushed, all the issues I mentioned before have started to feel more and more hard to accept. This is in part due to stuff like being greedy and making the endgame content untouchable unless you have the latest character has been pushed to the max, but also because while all of this is happening on the Hoyoverse side of the gacha world, other companies are making moves and releasing games that not only learn from their mistakes and correct them, they also take advantage of Hoyoverse's fumbles, which brings me to the second issue. Now this is not as much of a problem as something we should actually be thankful for, but you see, for quite some time Genshin has been the absolute gold standard as far as open world gacha RPGs go, and for the most part in the gacha space Genshin always had one of the more fair gacha systems. A good example is how for the majority of gacha games your pity counter does not carry over to the next banner. But time passes, and with the absolute astounding success of Genshin, competitors were due to arrive sooner or later. Initially, we had Tower of Fantasy, which fell flat on its face, got re-released, and then fell flat again, and now it's basically just gobbling up its last few Franklins while waiting on life support. After the Tower of Fantasy debacle, however, the next competitor arose, which is Wuthering Waves. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already know everything you need to know about Wuthering Waves, so I'm not gonna go too deep into what it is and what it does. Just look at Genshin, make it more Gunnar oriented, at least for now, with Varesa coming up, more dark and with better animation at times, and you got Wuthering Waves. And one thing Kuro Games, the devs of Wuthering Waves, are doing better than Hoyoverse though is they are keeping true to their identity. They are pushing the boundaries for a more fair gacha system, and they're also doing a great job when it comes to absorbing player feedback. And so with all the issues laid flat out, mapped and understood, how does Hoyoverse reverse ship and bring back players that quit? Because this is what the video is about after all. Well, for starters, the obvious issues that people have been signaling for a while have to be addressed first. And while I don't think they'll ever lower the requirements for getting a 5-star character, one thing they could do is up the rewards given from events, exploration, dailies, and everything else significantly. This would make their disgusting banner choices a lot more palatable, and it would also alleviate the power creep issue somewhat since it would make it easier to get multiple characters. After most of these issues have been fixed, the big problems naturally come next. I believe that dealing with the competition is really the easiest part of the two big problems, at least from a player's perspective. All they have to do is swallow their pride and a little greed and somewhat match what the competition offers. Especially on Whoa, I just went full RFK, that's crazy. But anyway, what I wanted to say was especially on monetization. In my opinion, Hoyo has to give up on their weapon banner structure first. The idea that you need hundreds of dollars worth of primo gems to have a single 5-star weapon guaranteed has to be one of the most disgusting parts of their gacha system. They could even leave the hard pity at 90 pulls and soft pity at 75, but get rid of the 50-50 on the weapon banner, and it would make a massive difference. They'd literally be aura farming with a change like this. Suddenly, the double stack banners aren't so bad anymore, and this change, when coupled with a proposed increase in rewards from exploration, dailies, events, and so on, make the game a lot more fair to free-to-play players. Getting the game identity back, however, has to be the hardest part to fix, I feel like. Going back to the old art style isn't hard, as it was proven by Mizuki. What is hard, however, is developing further and expanding their scope while not losing their core identity points. Something that has already been happening with Natlan, unfortunately. And I think Hoyo should, especially for Genshin, since the video has been mostly focusing around Genshin, I think they should broaden their scope with world building, story writing, cutscenes, and animations, instead of trying with characters. Because while yes, you can design more and more intricately detailed characters, what keeps people in after being drawn to the game is the world of Teyvat, the gameplay feeling, and most importantly, how the game respects and rewards their time. Now, all of these things would be absolutely wonderful to have, and while I love a good ending story, let's not get our hopes too high. All of these changes would only come true if Hoyoverse decided to do a complete 180 in their approach to monetization, current world building ideology, character design, and so much more. And unfortunately, I don't think that's ever gonna be the case because you see, while it's true that a lot of players have either quit the game or moved on to different titles such as Wuthering Waves for example, there are plenty of people who are just starting their journey now who see absolutely nothing wrong with anything. And to top it all off, January, the month Movuika launched, has reportedly made 99 million in revenue on mobile alone according to the Sensor Tower report. This is twice the amount made by Furna's first patch, for example. And this is for one of the most criticized characters in Genshin so far, being released in Natlan, one of the most criticized regions so far. This all means that the changes we all want to be made will likely never come unless there is a real shift in player perspective towards the game. Players are obviously responsible for the way they spend, and if players are good with what's going on in Genshin and keep spending on the most obvious cash grabs grid banners out there, Hoyo will keep doing it, because at the end of the day, they don't give a flying fuck about the Bible-sized paragraphs you all write in their feedback forms, but they probably would sacrifice 10 years of their lifespan just to sell you another pair of anime titties. But anyway, this was it for today's video. I hope the breakdown made sense to most of you. Thanks a lot for sticking up until the very end. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you could do that. While at it, make sure to also like the video if you enjoyed it. And let me know what your opinion on the direction Hoyo is taking their games is in the comments below. See ya!